Welcome inside the News 13 studios in the first installment of the Carolina Sports Wrap. I'm your host, Chris Parks. We thank you for being a part of our very first show. Plenty to get to in this half hour, including a live interview with CCU men's golf coach Jim Garren. We'll talk Pelicans, Gamecock football, and much more. But first, we discuss the big topic, the NCAA Regional Baseball Tournaments. Of course, the Chants are into day 2 of hosting the Conway Regional. That includes teams from all over the country like UConn, Washington, LIU, Brooklyn. Coastal is the #1 seed and the favorite to advance past this weekend. Head coach Gary Gilmore knows they'll get plenty of support from the crowd, and he hopes that will drive the guys to 3 consecutive wins.
You have a chance to put a statement out there. Hey, this is Coastal Carolina. There is a community and an area that loves their team, and they're coming out here. We want to be a part of this. We hadn't been to a game all year. These kids have earned this. They earned my dollar. I'm going to come and support them, and we need that. To be honest with you, I mean it's a 10th man factor that you can't put a price on.
16 teams from across the nation will advance to the Super Regional round, which happens next weekend. Then after that, 8 will make the trip to Omaha for the World Series. Well, the Clemson Tigers once again hosting a regional at Doug Kingsmore Stadium. The guys won the ACC Atlantic Division title this spring, and they finished with 45 wins in 59 games, including a 22-8 mark in conference play. But the last 2 seasons, Lee's crew hasn't been able to get out of their own regional. In 2016, they lost to Oklahoma State twice, and then 1 year ago, Vanderbilt took them out. Lee is hoping history doesn't repeat itself once again.
I mean, I think there's always a sense of urgency, and we always have had high expectations at Clemson. I don't think that's changed. I don't know if I would say the sense of urgency is any different necessarily this year than in other years and with other teams. I think that this team this year is the most prepared and the most ready to handle it.
The last time the Tigers did advance to the Super Regionals was back in the 2010 season. That year they made it to Omaha, where they ran into the Gamecocks, who won it all. And then, of course, USC won it all again in 2011. Well, the Gamecocks, speaking of them, got started the earliest out of the teams left in the Palmetto State. It's been a great second half of the year for Mark Kingston and company, winning 13 of their last 20 games dating back to April the 20th. USC looking to start the tournament strong with a victory against Ohio State. And Mark Kingston and his team trailing 1-0 in the 7th inning to the Buckeyes. Ohio State at the plate, adding to their advantage here. Dylan Dingler with a rip down the left field line. This would be an RBI double. OSU would take a 2-0 lead. Bottom half, the Gamecocks rally with a pair on. Danny Blair, with 1 home run all season long, picks a great time to have a second one. Just over the fence and right, a 3-run shot. The Gamecocks take their first lead. The bat's not done. Justin Rowe goes right back up the middle. This will plate a pair of runners as the Gamecocks hang 5 on the Buckeyes in the 7th inning, 3 more in the 8th, and they do get the victory by a score of 8-3. Well, things certainly went the right way there for the Gamecocks in that 7th inning, and it's still a step, of course, in the right direction for a team that didn't make the postseason back in 2017, ultimately leading to Chad Holbrook's departure as a coach. In comes Mark Kingston, a guy that took South Florida from the bottom of the standings to the big dance last season. While he's got those memories, his main focus, of course, is on USC and the senior class in the postseason.
You know, my focus is always just on the current team, and my focus on this team was I want to see these seniors get to an NCAA tournament. I don't want them to miss it again. My focus was on trying to make sure that our fan base understands that we're going to give them everything they have and try to get this team back where it belongs.
Sounds good there for USC. Coming up next, the Sun Belt Men's Golf Coach of the Year. There we go. Coastal Carolina's own Jim Garren joins me in studio. We talk a little CCU baseball and his team's big turnaround in 2018. That comes up right after the break on the Carolina Sports Wrap. Welcome back to the Carolina Sports Wrap, exclusively right here on News 13. We've been talking baseball and we'll continue to do so, and then some golf as well, too. That would be fitting for our next guest here in the studio. That is CCU men's golf coach Jim Garren. Coach, first off, congratulations on the big season you guys had and joining me on the set. But before we talk some golf, let's talk about the CCU baseball team. Of course, they're having a great year, and you've seen a couple of their games. How about the year they're having on the diamond?
It's such a big deal for our entire university, but especially for them. I mean, to get to host a regional, they've been on a serious heater lately. Great for the town, great for the community, great for the school, and of course, great for our athletic department.
It certainly is, putting CCU, of course, on the map back in 2016 whenever they did win the NCAA tournament. Let's talk a little bit now about your first full season here as the CCU men's golf coach and what a year it was for you guys. How'd things go through the fall and the spring, and just your impressions of your first year here at Coastal?
Well, it went by fast. We're 9.5, 10 months in, and it flew by. We hit the ground running. Got off to a pretty good start in the fall. Had a very nice start, a very nice fall overall. I think our worst finish was 6th. We really had a good year top to bottom, except for some back-to-back events in March where we didn't do very well. But other than that, very good year. And like we've told everybody, our main goal was to win conference. We said that in our first meeting of the year. Win conference, that's the top goal here, and we did that. So that's always exciting. And to go to the big dance is always a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Kind of leading me to my next question there is you guys did win the Sun Belt Conference tournament in Florida. How special was that for you as a coach to see those young men go there and win that tournament?
It was cool because what we do is all about them. And to see the work they put in all year, putting up with me and having to deal with me all year long, and complete new structure and new program, and everything was just new to them. And they bought in, and they fought, and they worked hard, and we did great academically. And of course, winning conference was just huge, just to see them be rewarded for all their hard work.
Morgan Deneen, big reason why you guys won that Sun Belt tournament there, fired a 10 under over that 3-day span. How big was he for you down the stretch and playing a big part in that Sun Belt tournament?
Morgan's performance that week was one of the best performances I've seen in my tenure as a coach. And I've had All-Americans across the board, guys that have played in every major and in the Olympics. And that was one of the more dominating performances I've ever seen. And to see his year, how he progressed throughout the year and got better and better and better as a walk-on, and he does that, was just something truly special.
Yeah, it was really something just to see and just to watch the videos to see him just continue to birdie. It seemed like on every single hole. Now, competing in the NCAA tournament, what did you learn as a coach? Obviously, you've had experience doing it before, but what do you think your team learned going down to Florida and competing in May there?
We had a chance the last day, and that's all we wanted, was to have a chance, but we were definitely nervous that opening night of the tournament, as they should be. None of those guys have ever been there. I'd been there, Jeremy had been there. We knew what to expect, and you try to get them ready for it, but when they turn the lights on and you're playing Florida and Vanderbilt and North Carolina with a chance to go to the national championship, it's pressure. So hopefully we learned that we can play with those guys, the fact that we still had a chance, and that we should expect to be there. Then that way, if we make it back next year, we won't have those nerves.
You won a national championship in 2017 with Oklahoma. Before you came here, you were an assistant coach there. What was that feeling like, winning with such a big program and getting to experience taking home a title with the golfers you had there?
It was surreal. We talk about family a lot in our program, and that's what they do at Oklahoma. They're a big family. And just to see everybody there and that feeling. And we had this weird feeling all week that we knew we were going to win it. And I think you watched the Golf Channel this week, you kind of heard Blaine talk about that. And we just knew. We got up there to Chicago after getting knocked out the year before by Texas. They wanted to win. We wanted to keep it going, and we expected to be there all year. And it was a special week where everything clicked, and there was nobody getting in our way. It just really cool feeling.
Absolutely, and hopefully Coastal can kind of be taken to something similar like to that. Could be in the cards for Coastal Carolina, though? Obviously, that's still maybe a ways down the way here, but you're in your first season coaching here at Coastal Carolina. But can you attract some golfers like that, being the NCAA tournament, attract championship-type golfers to this program and maybe make a run like that maybe a year or two down the road?
I think that's certainly our goal. We're not holding back from telling people that we want to compete at a national level. When you see our schedule come out next year, that's with that in mind, is to get to the highest level, to the big dance, and I certainly think we can do it. Now, we need to temper expectations a little. I know what we did at the end of the year was really, really good, but if you watch this week, the national championship, that's a different level. I mean, those guys, there's a reason those guys are winning on the PGA Tour by the age of 25, and I certainly think we can get there. Our guys have gotten way better. Every guy on our team had his best scoring average of his career this year. I think what we're doing with our program is going to work, but thinking big term goals, I think we're still a few years away from that, but that's still going to be a goal of ours every year. We're not going to shy away from it.
Oh, absolutely. Jim Garren joining me here on the set, talking CCU baseball and also CCU golf. Good to have him on here. More coming up, though, in our show as we begin our summer series with the Myrtle Beach Pelicans. We'll introduce you to the man that drives the ship each day, Buddy Bailey. That comes up right after the break on the Carolina Sports Wrap. Welcome back. The Myrtle Beach Pelicans have been a hot ticket on the Grand Strand ever since arriving back in 1999, with each player having a unique background to them or coach, something we wanted to examine a little bit closer here throughout the summer, beginning at the top with manager Buddy Bailey.
Myrtle Beach manager Buddy Bailey has been a part of the Pelicans since 2016, but that barely scratches the surface of his time on the diamond. Buddy was drafted by Kansas City and Atlanta and gave pro ball a shot until
I was at big league spring training. Joe Torre was the manager of the Atlanta Braves at the time, called me in at big league camp, said they needed a mountain league manager in rookie league. Would you be interested?
which maybe wasn't exactly what he had planned.
24 years old, it wasn't a good feeling. You know, you wanted to keep playing, but after the fact, he explained to me you want to stay in the game a long time, and luckily I've been living an extended childhood, able to do it ever since I was a kid.
Going from the players' locker room to the manager's locker room in the same day.
My first clubhouse speech, I remember I went in, I was so nervous as a manager, and then when I opened my mouth, I looked, about 5 seconds in, I saw how sheepish the players were, and they were sweating bullets. They were more scared than me.
Buddy has managed for 3 organizations, the Braves, the Red Sox, and the Cubs, and in his time has amassed over 2,000 career wins, just the 11th minor league manager to accomplish the feat.
It's been a long time ago, since 1983, that first game, and it's a lot of bus rides and a lot of trips and a lot of losses go along with 2,000 wins too, but that is quite a milestone. I didn't think about it that much until it happened, and had this offseason to think about it. It's a pretty good feeling when you think about it.
Buddy has also taken his managerial talents to Venezuela, winning 6 titles and a Caribbean World Series in 2009. But even with baseball dominating his time, he still carves out a piece of his day that falls back to his childhood.
Here at the ballpark, I got me a little garden out by the flagpole. I got some plants back there I kind of fool with every day, trying to feel like I'm doing something. Reminds me of when I was a kid, when we grew things at home.
And for those future ball players, some tips from the skipper.
Biggest thing is keep your eyes open, your ears open, and your mouth shut, because that means you're learning. Be on time, be professional, bust your butt when it comes time to work, and then go out and play as hard as you can.
He is one of a kind, always a good story or two to tell, and he's very good to us in the media. Buddy Bailey, we are certainly happy to have him here in Myrtle Beach. Well, earlier in the week, the Pelicans took 2 out of 3 from the Winston-Salem Dash, including this walk-off grand slam for Tyler Alamo in the bottom of the 10th inning. That happened on Tuesday night as they won that contest by a score of 6-2. On Wednesday night, some power from Vladimir Galino. This 2-run double here and some great pitching led to a 3-0 shutout. The guys are inching closer to the 500 mark as they try to make a run at first place before the All-Star break. Here's a look ahead for the Pelicans. They finish up their series with Down East on Sunday. A day off comes on Monday, and then they will travel to Bowie's Creek for a 3-game set before coming back home for a weekend set against Salem on the 8th through the 10th. Well, coming up, we'll take a step back in time and look at our teams that won high school football state championships back in the fall. That includes Dillon, Christian, and Lamar right after the break. High school football practice begins at the end of July. It will be here before we know it. But before we look ahead to what's in store for 2018, let's look back at the year that was 2017 and our state champions from the PD. The Dillon Wildcats looking for revenge and to overcome that loss from 2016 to Chapman. No score in the first quarter. Their defense would start strong as Tyquan Porter gets the interception, goes down the sideline, 77-yard return and score. Cats would take a 7-0 lead. Their offense was just as good, too. It's going to be quarterback Jay Lester throws a beautiful ball here to Corin Wright. Number one on this play here, 14-0 Dillon. And then after a turnover deep in Wildcat territory, they've got the ball at their own 1. Lester throws to Amari Huggins, and he's going to travel 99 yards straight into your living room there. How about that? 21-0 Cats. Chapman would rally and tie the game at 21. Colton Bailey finds Richard Tucker here. That would be the halftime score, but after that, Dillon would explode. As it's Tyquan Porter as they're up 35-21, gets the fumble recovery, 39 yards the other direction. The Cats score 36 in the second half. Dillon wins the 3A state championship in 2017 as they win by a score of 55-27.
When we left here last year, we were devastated because we played our worst game that we played all year. And then, you know, we had to have a little come into reckon there at halftime. You know, we did some things we were told they were not coached to do. You know, made amends there in the second half, and You know, I thought our offense really exploded there in the second half. It's about the program, the kids, and the coaches, and the community. And you know, when you get all that working together, big things happen for you.
Corey Fountain and his group from Lamar came up one win short of taking home a trophy in 2016. Last year, they hope to be crowned champions. It was a high-scoring affair in the first half. Rashard Coleman deep pass to Malik Johnson, 42 yards there. Silver Foxes up 22-16, but before the end of the first quarter comes to a close, here comes Baptist Hill. Corey Field, short pass to Javonte Burrell, and watch him find an opening and take off here, 47 yards. Bobcats up 24-22 at the end of the quarter. In the second, though, Lamar does pick up the pace some. It's Tyreek Heron, 14 yards here to the house. A big play for the Silver Foxes that helps them retake the lead at 30-24. Baptist Hill threatening, though, a couple minutes later. But how about Johnson making a big play on defense after the touchdown earlier? Gets this here and scores another one or takes that away on the interception, I should say. That bumps their lead up to 38-24, and then in the final minute of the first half here, they score twice. Here's Jaquez Lucas from 8 yards out. Lamar up 46-30. They set a school record for points in the title game, 74 of them, as they win the Class A state championship, 74-46.
I told my boys since the beginning of the season, we ain't going outside this year, and I see all these smiles on their face, and I like it.
Feels great, especially after the loss last year in the state game. They want to come out and have a different outcome this year.
All the hard work and dedication that these kids put in from January all the way to now. So it all come to fruition tonight. And it's awesome for our fans. We had a big crowd. Our kids were hyped up and ready for this game, and they didn't. We got punched in the mouth, and then we came back, we got back up, and we punched them back in the mouth, and that's what you got to do.
In the Skeeza League, a 1A matchup, PD looking to cap off their fall with a big win, while Dillon Christian hoping for back-to-back state titles. Warriors jumped out to a 7-0 lead early in the first. Big play here as Diaz Alexander finds DeMontrez Alford. 73-yard score. Dillon Christian would be up quickly, 13-0. PD does strike back later in the quarter. Jake Lane takes it in from a couple yards out. Golden Eagles cut the deficit down to 6. But the Warriors are firing on all cylinders. Alexander showing he can pass and run. That's a 35-yard score as Dillon Christian goes up 20-7. That's the score at the half. In the second half, it's a Diaz-Alexander show once again. Another big run, this time a 37-yard score. He was running all over them as his team runs away from the ball game, and the Warriors do win back-to-back state championships. Afterwards, Coach Christian Wolf talked about how much that meant for him and his family.
I could get a little emotional. You know, my son's a senior, so to be able to do it with him is fantastic. But all of them, you know, all these boys are like my kids.
I mean, it feels great, you know, knowing that my family can be out here to support me through everything I do. You know, without them, I wouldn't be here where I'm at now.
Other schools that finished as runners-up included the Hartsville Red Foxes in Class 4A. They fell to Powerhouse South Point 38-14, while in Tar Heel State, Scotland County also lost a heartbreaker to Harding University School 30-22. Running back Zamir White for Scotland County is heading to Georgia next season. Well, one final break in the show, but coming up, we'll speak with the head football coach of the Gamecocks, and that's Will Muschamp, to get his thoughts on a variety of topics heading into their 2018 season. That comes up right after the break. Coastal Carolina and South Carolina will kick off the college football season against each other on Saturday, September the 1st from Williams-Brice Stadium. The Chants will look to build after just a 3-win season, while USC won 9 games in 2017. Head coach Will Muschamp in Florence recently getting the Gamecock faithful in the PD pumped up about 2018. Here is more about his experience. The Florence Center was the 8th and final stop on the 2018 Spurs Up Tour involving Will Muschamp. Recently, hundreds of Gamecock fans in the PD got to chat, take pictures, and speak with the head ball coach, something he really enjoys because it's those that fuel his program.
Well, our fan base is very loyal, very passionate. This is a small thank you to them for their support. I always go back to our first year. We weren't very good. But because of our fan base, because of the positive support, late in the year we turned it around a little bit, and I credit our fan base a lot of that.
The Gamecocks won 9 games and were crowned Outback Bowl champs in January. One of the many reasons why was former tight end Hayden Hurst, a first-round pick of the Baltimore Ravens in April.
People see opportunity, and people want to see results, and they see an opportunity of a guy that led the University of South Carolina receptions from the tight end position. a guy that walked on the football team that had tremendous. There's a lot of success stories with Hayden as far as that's concerned. A lot of different opportunities to show recruits that this could be an opportunity you can create for yourself here at South Carolina.
Muschamp is a firm believer that you don't necessarily have to get a 4 or 5-star recruit, although that's important. So is a young man's character traits.
Some kids have a desire and work ethic, and that's part of ability and talent. Some guys lose love of the game, or they don't have the work ethic. They don't have the work capacity to be successful. So, again, I think just different situations happen.
One of those happened when Deebo Samuel was injured last fall, and Conway's Brian Edwards stepped up to the plate and ended up leading the team in receptions and yards.
Well, you know, Brian really became our go-to guy when Deebo got hurt last year, and you know, I think that role helped him become a better player. All that does is help your football team and help those guys as individual players. So, you know, just looking forward to Brian. Again, he's a hard guy to cover at the top end of the catch because of his size and because of his strength.
He'll be one to watch in the fall, but before the games begin, Coach Muschamp and his staff will have a busy summer ahead of them.
Well, we're about to hit June, which is our huge camp season as far as continuing to evaluate and recruit guys in the 2019, 2020, 2021 class. We'll spend a lot of time on opponents coming up as far as we'll take each day and study an opponent and go through their film on offense, defense, and special teams and what we need to do and what we could have done better, and anybody that's new on our schedule that we've got to go back and look at some different things.
Good stuff there from the coach. That will do it for our first installment of the Carolina Sports Wrap. We thank Jim Garren for joining us to talk coastal baseball and golf, and we thank you for joining us on News 13, your home for the best local sports coverage. Every Saturday at 11:30, you can catch the Carolina Sports Wrap. Have a good evening, everybody.